baby. It's that time once again.
Yeah.
And look who's on the captain's chair. I'm his co-pilot. He's back in the mix. We got the white rhino back in the studio. So definitely, brother, back at it like a crack addict.
Yeah.
Is that how the saying goes?
Hit it like a jackrabbit.
He's gonna start spinning bars right now.
My dad's addict. Yeah.
But then all those people, we're back here in the pod studio. I've been saying multiple times, I was like, he's going to be back here. Don't worry, for the past couple solo episodes that I've been doing. And I'm like, by now, I hope people don't get the idea that you've been booked out of the podcast.
Well,
it's like, I'm taking over the show now.
we have these inner turmoil, these spats, and sometimes we just need to take a break.
Yeah.
You know, stir some controversy of some sort at least, right?
Just to get the pod out there. No. But nonetheless, man, it's always, I mean, there's so much stuff going on.
Look at what's trending right there.
What was that?
Politics trending? What is that? What does it say?
It was funny. You know, we had a little rendezvous here for my sister-in-law's party, and I was telling Brett here that there's this famous meme out there. It's across the Hispanic families, right? They always say there's that one white friend that's always there. It's like all Hispanics, and then it pans. There's one white guy in the background there.
Dude, we were the meme. We were the meme. I was the only white dude there.
But it's just funny because it's like we had the mariachi band there too, and they played the same song. They actually played that song they played in that meme. It's like the Mariachi Loco. So anybody that knows that, it's that song in the background. Then it pans out to the white friend only at that Mexican function. But I thought it was hilarious because it literally came to life. So,
dude, you know how much of an honor that feels like for me. You know, it'd be like me taking you to one of our white shindigs. You know, white family reunions.
Oh yeah, dude.
You know,
they'd be on me like
once
a hawk,
you can get past the plain turkey and the mashed potatoes. Hey man, where's the carne asada? Oh, sorry, Eduardo, we don't do that here.
You guys don't have tortillas here, do you?
It's not Cinco de Mayo.
What was that one we were watching where like what is it like how do you say something's like gracias or something like that?
Gracias.
Oh,
that's all that white boomer humor.
I love it, dude. I love it.
Dude, can I tell the story about your garden digging and all that?
Oh, okay.
This is the beauty. Like when you can intermix race, right? Different races, and just like, you know, sometimes there's stereotypes, and sometimes those stereotypes stick, right? So. You know, my boy, he's calling me, and you know, I'm like, hey man, I know you're digging in your garden. How's it going? You know, and he's like, yeah, man, you know, it's going okay, but you know, I'm just coming up on some junk. Like it looks like somebody just buried junk. And I'm like, hey bro, I'm just gonna clue you in on some white boy history. I'm like, this is just like a redneck thing that we do.
Yeah.
But like when we don't want to go to the dump, we just literally just bury it in our backyard. Dude. Just wherever we can.
And
right?
I was amazed by how much stuff they buried down there because I just kept finding like brick after brick. I'm like, what the hell?
Because you know it's expensive to go to the dump.
Oh man, it's like $30 a trip. Yeah, and it's by weight. I think I forgot what the weight limit is, but yeah, it's like $30 to get in, but it's by weight. So if you exceed the weight limit, it's more after that, right?
Yeah,
but I get it. But dude, it was like finding treasure that I didn't want to find back then.
No, yeah. So you know, my only caution, I didn't give it to you that day. I'll give it to you now. Is chemicals. Right? Sometimes they'll pour some oil, antifreeze. Anything goes. They don't care. So just a little thing that us white people don't talk about. But since you're in it, I might as well just you're my boy. I'm gonna clue you in on that.
You wanted to fill me in, dude. Give me the heads up. So now I know, definitely. So yeah, I am. That is a project of mine that I'm slowly working on. But yeah, I keep finding surprises back there. So I'm sure that's the last of it that I'm gonna see. But yeah, that was funny.
But I will say that I did share that with my white friends, and we did have a little bit of a chuckle.
He's experiencing what we like to call getting rid of the trash, right? Dude. But that was hilarious, though. That was hilarious. But brother, nonetheless, man, it's been a couple days. It's been a couple weeks since you've been here back in the studio.
Yes.
I'm always glad to have you here, of course, when we're always together to talk about the craziness that's going on. And of course, one of the hottest topics, of course, that we have been embarking on this past couple of days, they've been releasing all these UFO or UAP files, right? All these, they're declassifying a bunch of stuff. And I've talked about it in the past previous Side Quest episodes. Go check that out. It's available on our YouTube for all you people that haven't seen that. Go check it out and subscribe to as well. But yes, all this stuff that's coming out. So first and foremost, man, what do you think? What do you think about all this stuff that they're just now declassifying and coming out with and really saying, like, pretty much, yeah, these things exist and we don't know what they are?
Yeah, I'll preface it with, anytime the government says that they are releasing anything, I just have a hard time trusting that they are releasing everything that we need to see that we've been asking for.
Yes.
So sometimes I just wonder if what we're missing out on. We know that we're missing out on something. So what are they leaving out, and where are they trying to direct our attention toward, and where are they trying to obfuscate our vision?
Yeah.
So those are the questions when I'm looking at all this. However, I mean, I can't say they have like new material. They're showing like new spaceship videos that I've never seen.
Yeah.
But I can't say that it's super groundbreaking for me, because we have been seeing a lot of very similar videos.
Yeah.
But I want your input on that, because your finger is on the pulse a little bit more than mine on this, but just because I'm looking at it and I'm just like, I'm seeing this. Other than it seems to be like all over the world that this stuff is happening.
Different areas, of course. But one of the things like that, one of the common things that I'm seeing with all this, it's kind of almost the same type of object, cylindrical, doesn't really have any wings or nothing. No, what is it? Heat exhaustion coming from it, like the actual whatever this is flying around. So that's the one thing that's kind of, I guess, baffles me, that there's really no indicator that this is like something that we have currently now that we're running, like our highest, what is it, the highest end jets that we have. That's like the top of the creme de la crop that we have, right?
Right.
That can
like
be up
fighter
to
jet,
like a fighter jet. But these things seem to outmaneuver these things, and just the speeds and how quick they can evade the radars. That's what's pretty crazy about that within itself. But more or less, they're coming out with a bunch of, like, I think I've read an article too that there's one that supposedly there was a fighter jet that shot one of these things down.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, what the hell?
Got him.
But but one thing I do want to start off with, so let me get your thoughts about this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go knees deep on this. For former Tier 1 UFO crash retrieval operator hides the truth about UFOs in science, fiction, novel, and the Pentagon tried to censor it with 7 pages of redactions. The book posts that deep black American aerospace has been systematically using psionic operators to mentally attract and fly UFOs. They recruit refugees, often indigenous and from the third world countries, and implant them with tracking chips, get them into heightened states of consciousness aided by specific medications and protocols, and use them to attract UFOs. They then use these psionic operators to fly UFOs using electrical signal-based biofeed from their minds. The UFO crash retrieval contractor and now whistleblower Jake Barber encoded these dark truths in this novel, The Centennials of Ether. This book provoked review from special access program subject matter experts with 7 pages of Pentagon redactions in just its first 20 pages. Barber flew helicopter recoveries from an unnamed aerospace giant that many claim to be Northrop Grumman. What do you think about that, Brett?
Well, I mean, so targeting third world indigenous. So is that so that they can't tell their story?
Remember that story about Mike Herrera? How there was like a typhoon that hit.
I do remember that.
So do you remember they were saying that they saw these boxes and what he felt or what he thought? And I'm trying to remember what he was saying, that they thought they had bodies in there.
Dead.
I don't know if they were dead bodies though. That's the thing. So what if they're taking people from these areas where they so-called disappeared and they're using them for these experiments?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
See, no,
theory,
totally.
Right?
I could see that being feasible. For sure.
But I mean, nonetheless, though, there's always a big focus on consciousness too. Don't you always think about there's always that big focus where that's a big topic where they're trying to like even what was the operation that they were saying that they were able to remote view? What was that?
Yeah, that is what is that? I know what it is though.
Yeah,
the remote view. It's amazing stuff. I mean, and Robert Monroe, they focus on that. I've looked
Project
into
Stargate.
stuff myself. Yes,
Project Stargate.
Thank you.
So, founding in 1972, originally funded by NASA and later sponsored by the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency, researchers Russell Targ and Harold Potoff at the Stanford Research Institute spearheaded the program. So, yes, this was an actual project that they were. I guess they were saying that they were able to use other people to be able to remote view different, like, you know, they were somewhere else and they were able to see what it is, what they were seeing. Dude.
I believe it. I believe that stuff.
You believe that stuff?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. I because a lot of it is that Monroe Institute where they actually teach people how to do that.
Yes.
I've, seen countless amount of people who have they we were always like we would see psychics growing up and they would claim that they could see these things, but then that was kind of, a lot of them were found to be just gimmicky and not true at all. But then you find out these people, some of these stories that these people are telling where the military hired them, kept them off the books. And then some of the stories where they would say, okay, what do you see here? What do you see here? There was one podcast I was listening to, and it was this lady. It was this older lady that she was one of those remote viewers.
Yes.
And she could even go look back in time. And so Sean Ryan had asked her, he said, can you go back to Jesus? Can you see that? And she refused to talk about that.
Really?
And I don't know why.
Okay,
I don't know why.
So, you got me in a good one there. So, there was an episode that I have seen, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't play this because I just don't want to get dinged. Because we got to be very careful with, what is it? Just
copyright.
Copyrights and all that. Okay, so this lady's name is Julia Mossbridge, right? Mm-hmm. And she's she's working with these kids that are on the spectrum. And she's been doing these studies with them. So one of the ones that tripped me out, she was talking to this one kid that was talking to her through a device, and he was talking about a beach ball. And this is a story that she could tell better herself, right? Mm-hmm. And she was talking to this kid, talking about a beach ball, how it would be fun to be playing out on the beach with the ball. So once she got done talking to him, talked to this other little girl. And this little girl out of nowhere, and think about it, they weren't in the same room. They didn't know who they were. This little girl says, "Oh yeah, it would be fun playing with the beach ball."
Wow. See, that's what I'm saying.
I was really, like, what the? Like, one of those what the hell moments, you know?
There's so much, it's like the Transformer.
Yeah.
More than meets the eye.
Yeah. That's a good one. Optimus Prime.
I was waiting.
The Transformer. No, true though. You're right. It is more than meets the eye. You see something in a car, but wait.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
So you're constantly moving through time, meaning gut feelings or memories from the future.
Meaning gut. Your consciousness can move through time, meaning gut feelings are memories from the future. I thought it was something of a learned response. So, like, hey, your ancestors have been killed eating that plant.
Yeah.
Stay away from it. Like kids, inherently afraid of mice, spiders, snakes. Inherently. You don't even have to train them. They're just naturally afraid. And I don't think that, I don't know. That I would challenge that particular one. I also don't know what the headline, that's just the headline. So we would have to read the story for me to really challenge that. I don't.
So it says presents video evidence of what she believes is telepathic communication between nonverbal autistic subjects.
Yeah, dude.
So if we can actually pull this up so she can kind of talk about it herself. I think it's a very interesting topic since we're on that on the note of consciousness, right? Before we dive a little deeper, because I think this is one thing too. I actually wanted to write down and actually talk to you about this to see what you think. But it's also pretty interesting now that I know that you said you believe that believe that we do have that capability somehow where we can channel in something like that, right?
Yep. I mean, all of us have what we call intuition.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, you know, the more someone is in tune with their intuition, the more connected to their environment they feel. And so sometimes when you're, like, for instance, you know, they talk about the aura of a person, right?
Yeah.
You know, I can look at a person and I feel pretty good about going into any dynamics. I was in Queens, New York, in a rougher neighborhood, and I felt okay.
Like, you know how to blend in, kind of like be a chameleon in a sense, like kind of fit into that environment.
Well,
type deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can, because I guess I just have those people skills, right? But there's also an added level of intuition that I have, that I've always had, that I can go into a room and feel and just kind of look and say, okay, that these people I can talk to, maybe a couple people, and it's always, you know, the only time I've ever had bad intuition is at night, where I'm, you know, the situation, right? The situation where I knew something wasn't right.
Yeah.
You know, the guy just didn't look a certain way. I just had that gut feeling, even though there were other people like saying, no, everything's okay. No, it ain't okay.
No, it ain't.
There's something.
Like,
there's
your
something
senses
up.
are high, right? Like, you're okay now. My
your
attention,
spidey senses, right? Yeah, your intuition.
Yeah.
So
okay,
I think that is connected to all of this. It's just all consciousness.
All right, so let's peep game on this. So let's just hear out. Let's just hear this little part of it. It's just very interesting right here. So let's hit it.
I want to show you, if you can find it, is one of what we call a telepathy train, where the students, and this happened more than once when we were physically in town, in Chicago as a team, where one student comes in and says something, leaves, and the next student comes in with their mom, and they check in. You know, Maria always asks them, would you like to check in? And then they refer to the thing the last student was talking about. And it happened in a really compelling way in this video, because there was also a discussion that the first student who comes in, which I believe I'm calling participant 4, just for anonymity. So participant 4 comes in and says he wants to go on a double date with participant 5 and his girlfriend. And then he says, tell his mom. And then when participant 5 comes in, he says, tell my mom I want to go on a double date with participant 4 and his girlfriend. So they clearly had already discussed this telepathically, because they're non-speakers. They're not talking to each other. Their parents haven't talked to each other about this. The parents don't know each other. And so that happened. And then they also passed on this, so this stuff kept happening. They also passed on this idea of slamming a beach ball on the ground in order to identify each of the videos, because they wanted to get the telepathy signals right, but they were missing them, you know, on the formal trials. So they discussed between themselves, apparently, telepathically, if you slam a beach ball on the ground before we do the trial, then we'll focus on it in time, and we'll go to the right timeline to talk about this is what they write down to get to the video in our minds. And so that's the video that I wanted to show you, if it's here, because I don't include the double date stuff in it because it's too private and they say too many names of other.
But think about that.
Yeah.
So they're talking about, one subject is talking about going on a date with this person.
Mm-hmm.
The other person the individuals come in and they know right away where the conversation kind of left off at. Brother.
Yeah. Well, that kind of scares me, because I don't think I want anybody knowing my thoughts.
Get out of my head. Get out of my head. Oh, dude, check this out. So my wife, dude. Okay, so I wanted to wear this on this last solo tip on the side quest episode, and we were talking about tinfoil hats, right?
Yeah.
And she didn't know what I was talking about. She's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's this whole thing. You know, back in the days, conspiracy theorists, they didn't want like the government reading their minds, or they wanted to keep their minds kind of to themselves.
Yeah.
So they would make these tinfoil hats." And she's like, "So it's made out of tinfoil?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's kind of like this, dude. Check this out."
You know what's funny though?
I was like, yeah.
The people, you know what?
Dude, I'm gonna
The
rock this for the rest of the
conspiracy
show.
theorists have, they used to be able to mock conspiracy theorists.
Oh, dude.
And that was a joke, right? That was a mockery. But the more and more that we've been right about so much, you can't make fun of that anymore.
Well,
Like,
the tables have turned, my friend.
yeah.
I feel like, nowadays it's like they say conspiracy theorists are up one now.
The Great Awakening. I mean, this is what I've been saying for years. The Great Awakening. We are so close. And, I see some things. It is a battle between good and evil right now.
Yeah.
And, this last election in Kentucky, trying to get Thomas Massey out.
Yeah,
I looked at that and I said, all right. So evil won. Evil prevailed in that one.
Yeah.
But the good, we haven't lost yet. We haven't tapped out. We haven't given up. We've just said, okay, they won that battle. Evil won that battle. We're gonna continue to fight.
Yeah.
And you just look at evil just taking dubs here and there, and it's meant to discourage us.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of us that have been fighting this fight for so long, we have just come to this point where, okay, well, my line, I've drawn my line. I know where I'm at, and we know where you're at, and so we're just battling this out.
Yeah.
So we are in full on war right now.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy times. I mean, overall, right? We are living in very interesting times with everything. I mean, like you said it, you said it best, right? Just a lot of just crazy, I would say, outcomes in certain things. You know what I'm saying? Just especially with that Kentucky situation. We've talked about it off the pod. That was very interesting to see kind of how that unfolded. But nonetheless, like you said, you're right. I think a lot of people are really waking up to seeing, like, wait a minute, what's really going on?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I agree. I think these next couple of years are going to be, more of a lot of people stepping up. In my opinion, that's kind of what I think.
So this is where, like, how do these UAPs and consciousness, how does all of that tie in to what we're talking about? Because it does seem like it is all connected in some way, shape, or form. And so that's what we're trying to trudge through is trudge through the information, parse it out, and say, okay, wow, this is this. Because I think that spiritual evil, spirit battle between good and evil is going on even in that realm, because of that Sean Ryan podcast you were talking about, where they were over in that country with the boxes. I mean, full on machine. There was like a machine there, right?
It was like this craft that they'd never seen before, and it was it had the American flag on it. I think it was like kind of backwards or like reverse, and they had a bunch of these military dudes with these patches that they'd never seen before.
Yeah.
So it was like a very secretive rogue group or something. And Mike Herrera, who's the one that was telling the story, he could say it way better than me. When I heard it, I was like, dude, something. I think that to me, that was the one that really put me on that level of like, okay, dude, I really believe there's something going on.
And I remember recording that episode. I remember we had Tom McDonald and Hector over.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yes,
that was on that episode.
Which we'll definitely have to touch back on that for the people that are definitely tied into the Bigfoot stuff. We're gonna link up soon. We're gonna have Hector and Eric back on another episode on a follow up. So stay tuned for that before I forget. But yes. They were there. We were playing back kind of like a story that he was talking about it, like kind of experience and all that, and how his camera disappeared.
Yeah, dude.
So there's a bunch of craziness, bro. There is. I really believe there is a lot of things that are being kept under wraps that we're maybe right now we're getting a sneak peek, just a dose of what's really going on. Like, how are we obtaining all this technology? Like, where did this come from?
Who are you? Tell me if this was you that I talked to about this, but this guy. So I was just reading the story about this guy who was skiing with his friends, right?
Okay.
And then he told his friends, he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna hit the slopes for a couple more rounds.
Oh, yes. It was I've been on my kick on the missing 411 people that have been getting lost in the national forest around here.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So tell that story, dude.
So yes, this was if anybody's interested in looking this up, it's missing 411. So it's a bunch of cases that have gone cold in regards to people that have gone missing at national forest parks. But the crazy thing behind that is that a lot of these missing cases are, like, for example, that one in particular that Brett was talking about. This gentleman went on a ski slope. He went up to go, I guess, catch one last ride down the mountains or whatever, and they found footage of him, doing what he's doing. He went to the bathroom and all that, and out of nowhere he just disappeared.
Yeah, so he was with his friends. They went off and went home without him, and he said, "Okay, I'll catch up with you." So he ends up staying. But then suddenly he does not show up.
Yeah.
And then, so they are now looking for him. Now, they said that there was no history of mental illness.
Yes.
No history of drug use. No history, no current reason, no girl in the mix where he needs to, have some rendezvous or anything like that.
Yeah. So Stephen Kubacki is that the one where he said, okay, that's where it was in Canada and he woke up and he was in California.
Yes.
Okay.
And then,
yep.
But is that so? The one I thought is where he had an iPhone.
Yes, so that's the one where he woke up in California. He went in the back of the truck, and they couldn't find the driver.
So then they were like, okay, well, where did this phone come from? Because it wasn't even his phone.
Yeah, he said he bought it. He only had one credit card in his pocket. That's how he used it, but they couldn't figure out they had no trace on how to even trace back to it.
Yeah.
So yes, that's a very interesting one. So found in, I think it was California. So yes, I want to touch base on that one. That was a pretty crazy one. So right here. Yep. Okay. So on February 7th, 2018, Philippides, is that how you pronounce it?
That's how I'd say it.
He vanished while skiing at the Whiteface Mountain near Lake Placid, New York. It triggered a massive 6-day search involving helicopters. I said Canada, but it's actually New York. K-9 units and hundreds of volunteers who secured the mountain. On February 13th of 2018, so this is a few days after that, right?
6 days later.
6 days later, he called his wife from Sacramento, California in a confused state. He was found at a Sacramento airport wearing the exact same ski gear he had on when he went missing, but possessing no ID and carrying only a credit card. Philippides had a fresh haircut, had purchased an iPhone, and had withdrawn cash, but he had no memory of the preceding 6 days or how he traveled across the continent. Mm-hmm. He believed he had suffered a head injury and may have hitched a ride in a passing truck. Investigators and medical experts suspected Philippides suffered a traumatic brain injury and experienced a dissociative vague state, a rare psychiatric condition that can cause a person to travel long distances away from home while experiencing amnesia.
Wow.
Can you imagine that, dude?
See, I read that story and I was just like, dude clearly got abducted. I just think that's always my default answer. Oh, he was clearly abducted.
Yeah. Or he just wanted to get away from his wife if he has you see, he has a wife, so he wanted to get away from the wife. I somehow got lost and I ended up in California. Dude, just say you want to have a good time. You just went out there with your side piece or something.
Exactly. And when it says California, he really meant Tijuana.
Oh, been funny, dude. Oh, yeah, dude. But nonetheless, though, that's crazy because so you're telling me that this dude has no memory and somehow his brain just managed to just freely control his body and he went with the flow. He bought an iPhone, got a haircut, and he ended up in California all the way from New York.
Yeah, man. That's crazy.
I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, but again, it's a lot of those abductions. That's why I'm saying I go to the abduction is because any abductee has very similar stories where they've lost track of time. They have no sense of time, and they're disoriented, and they feel different when they come out. They are not the same as prior to the abduction.
Oh, dude. Okay, so I'll throw you in for another one, bro.
All right.
So, since we're on the abduction tip, because this could be tied to UAPs. That's actually another thing that that they're starting to kind of link the two, that they possibly could have been abducted, or they're saying that there is definitely something in the woods. And you know, we talked about, you know, we're going to do an episode here in the future touching up with our good friends Eric and Hector. Sasquatch.
Right.
They said they could tie. It's one or the other, but then they link too that supposedly every time that they see these orbs, they always see or come across or hear something crazy, which they would think it is a Bigfoot or Sasquatch. They see these orbs flying around. So could they be tied together?
Love to get Hector and Eric.
Dude, yeah, I want to ask them that too. So that's one thing too I want to see, because they did mention that before, that people have seen orbs in the forest, and then all of a sudden that's when they start hearing all this stuff like the wood knocks and, you know, whatever else comes with it. But so here's a crazy one too, right? So in 2014, a 30-year-old experienced bow hunter was on a week-long elk hunting expedition in Montana's rugged Crazy Mountains. He left. Have you heard about that, Montana? Crazy Mountains?
No.
Okay. He left his camp to retrieve supplies from a nearby cache and never returned. The mystery. During the initial search and rescue crews could not find Aaron, but they did discover a bizarre clue. His boots were found neatly placed beside a fire ring. Almost 2 years later, in August 2016, his remains were found miles away from where he was last seen, near a road, which baffled investigators as to why he would walk in freezing conditions, which was 11 miles, without his boots. So here's the crazy part too, Brett. So they found his boots by the fire pit ring, right? From there to where they had found his backpack, because there was these two married couple at the time that lived on this huge part of the ranch that was kind of close to those mountains, or kind of like a gateway to get into those mountain areas. Their neighbor was looking, or like they were putting up fencing, and his neighbor had found this backpack that was neatly placed against this tree. But it was neatly placed, and also there was a thermo with the cap that was open and looked like somebody was like literally just opened it up and was about to take a drink from whatever was in there. And they also found a freshly cracked open energy drink. So they found that. Didn't find anything else. And his bow. They found his bow laying next to all this stuff. 2 years later, a couple people that were hiking around that area, they found a skull. Nonetheless, it was the skull of Aaron Hedges, a mile away from where they found his backpack and all that.
What I get from that, when you're bow hunting in the fall, normally. It was at night. You know, his boots were next to the fire, so I'm thinking, though, it sounds like a case of hypothermia.
That's what they were saying too. But here's the other kicker: where they found his backpack and all that stuff, there was a clear view of the road and all that. Like you could see that. Okay, if I were to walk a little bit more, I'm able to see you were able to see a couple houses too. So you're telling me, like, if you were literally in that state of like, okay, hypothermia, whatever, wouldn't your first instinct like, I need to get some help, I need to go down there?
You would think so, but that would be something to look more into.
Yeah.
But I think that from the hypothermia cases I've looked into, not that close to the road or houses, anything like that, but what tends to happen is you lose all sense of common sense. You lose your grasp of reality completely. Yeah. You feel warm. You're slowly dying. Yeah. You're dying and you don't even realize it, and your body is just preparing for death.
So another interesting thing to add to the story is from where he left at 10 o'clock in the morning, and he was supposed to go to this cache where he has like equipment and stuff that he left up there. So for future, hunting trips, he has stuff up there already placed. He knew this place like the back of his hand. This wasn't in a new area. He knew this place, and his buddies that he went with were like, he's been up here multiple times. So for him to just get lost like that, it's kind of unheard of. And also, they had walkie-talkies with a GPS location, so they were able to tell where he was at. Because that's how they found out. That's how they found out where he was supposed to come down the trail and kind of do like a little U and then come back to their camping site. He kind of went off that trail and started walking like a complete opposite direction.
Okay.
So why?
Okay.
That's kind of like the way that this story is, like the full details. It doesn't make any sense.
Not unfamiliar terrain.
He's in familiar terrain. He knows where he's at. He's an experienced hunter. He knows what he's doing. He's not like a Joe Schmo. And the cops or the sheriff in that town was saying this case does not make any sense. It's one of the wildest cases that I've ever experienced till this day.
Any history of drug use?
No. Nothing. Straight shooter, just straight dude, just loved hunting, outdoors, doing his thing, and that was it. And they looked into that. That's the guy that did the last documentary for the Missing 411. His thing is he wants to take cases where he knows that they're their mental state. Like they're not in a mental state of depression or anything like that. It wasn't any animal that you could tell, like, you know, when they wait for the autopsy that you weren't attacked by any type of animal. They just want the ones where they just don't know. They just vanished. No clue, no nothing.
See, that's what sucks if I ever go missing. Is they'll be like, yeah, he was in a chronic state of depression, you know, for basically his entire life. So he probably just finally gave up, you know. And then here I am just getting ping pong between a family of aliens, you know. And I've just got a hell of a story to tell, but no one believes me because they just think it's depression.
Yeah, right. They're examining you, dude, all that. Oh, God.
Come on, Brad. We know. We know your history, buddy. It's okay.
Oh, God. But nonetheless, though, they're trying to link this with abductions. They're trying to link this stuff with abductions.
I mean, yeah, as you definitely sold me onto it.
Yeah.
With, you know, him being familiar with it. You know, that it's funny because initially it looks like a case of hypothermia until you put everything else in there.
No, it's a very also the other one that I just brought to your attention. I forgot her name, but she was one of the missing scientists, the one that went on a hiking trip and she went missing
in California.
Yeah. So, do you ever recall her name?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember all the names. I wish.
Let's see. Let's look up. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this one's a little wild too.
Oh yeah, Jacinto.
So yes, okay. So Monica Jacinto Reza, a 60-year-old aerospace engineer and NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory material scientist, disappeared on June 22nd of 2025, last year, while hiking the Mountain Waterman Trail in the Angeles National Forest. The disappearance. She was hiking with companions when she became separated. Mm-hmm. One companion stated Reza was walking just 30 feet behind him, smiling and waving, but vanished when he turned back around.
That's crazy.
So here's the thing, too. This one is almost kind of reminiscent to the other one that I just talked about. So she initially told him to kind of go ahead. I'll be right behind you. I'll be right there. So there's a turn, and I've seen a couple people take on YouTube take the same hiking trip or the same route that they had gone to show kind of like, you know, give you a good glimpse of kind of how it looked and everything. So I got a good just a view of how it's all layered out.
Okay.
The turn is pretty obvious because a lot of people that took that trail, they left like a bunch of dead trees to kind of mark a little passageway to take this turn to keep going on the main route.
Okay.
So for her to steer off, it would kind of be like, man, I don't know, like it would be obvious to me, like, okay, the trail's right here. It's obvious to see, like, okay, take a right if you're going back down the trail, back down the mountain, so you can continue on and go back to your starting point. She went the opposite direction and went the left instead of taking a right, going down.
But you know how women are when they hike. I'm just kidding. Just had to throw that out there.
No, but it's honestly, I would think it's like I said, it's if you were to see the trail, it's such an obvious, like, okay, follow this little trails right here, go in the opposite direction. There's no man-made trail or whatever on this opposite end if you go left. But she, as you see, she was 30 feet behind him, waving, smiling, and then boom, she vanished.
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
And again, with her background, at the same time with everybody else, I mean, that's why it's clearly suspicious. I mean, it warrants more investigation than what they've done thus far.
So an extensive large-scale searches were conducted by law enforcement and search and rescue teams, but only trace ever recovered was Zerbini. Her case remains under investigation by authorities, and the FBI has drawn national security as part of the broader House Oversight Committee probe into the mysterious deaths and disappearances of over a dozen scientists and defense-linked personnel.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to go into that because we've already pretty extensively covered all those, but some of those cases are so weird, right? Like leaving their IDs behind.
Yeah.
The guy goes with only his gun, and you know, it's just like, what is going on, guys? What is going on?
Especially this many at this point, right? Where
and at the time of all these files being released, so it's like, okay, so are they afraid that when they do release these files, that some of these people are gonna kind of blow the whistle and say, this isn't, you know, don't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah. No, straight up. I mean, yeah. What if they have more to offer and, they really want to expose the truth for what it really is? But man, dude, at this point, I don't know, man. It's
and there's more now.
Yeah. So this is the last picture right here, and I'll pop it up. See if I can go down here real quick. Okay, so I'll pop it up for the people to see on YouTube. So
this is the day
for all your listeners that are listening to the audio. Definitely check out the YouTube to follow along to get a better, visual. Right. So these are the last pictures that they took on the hiking trip.
So that was the day she went missing.
This is the day she went missing right here.
Way.
The last picture she took, dude, before she just went missing.
That's
so just to really think, dude, it is weird because 30 feet behind her, whatever this person was, her friend or whatever. I'll be right there. I'm right behind you. Turns around, gone.
Yeah,
dude. How can you explain that? And they only found her beanie. That's the only thing they found. Nothing else.
Yeah,
and that's the same thing too with all these other. So okay, back to the other one that I was talking about. Right? What's his name? The other story we're talking about.
Yeah,
that went missing.
The bow hunter.
The bow hunter. Right? That same area where they found that fire pit ring. They looked around that same area multiple times the first couple of days. They found that literally like maybe on the 5th or 6th day they found that.
So it wasn't there the first.
It wasn't there the first time. Then they went around and then they found that. How do you explain that? So little details like that matter. And it's like, what the hell is really going on?
There's no way they could have missed it.
There's no way they could have missed it. There were helicopters and stuff flying over, and even the guy was saying, yeah, that wasn't there when we were looking, but a couple of days later after the fact, it was there.
I don't know if I ever told you this story. Oh man, I've got a weird Montana story. Montana was so the thing. I don't know if it's associated.
Yeah,
and it wasn't like we were around the nukes, but over in Great Falls, that's where they have the intercontinental missiles over there.
Okay.
And so anyway, there's all that. But where I grew up in the Flathead Valley, which is like near Glacier Park, Flathead Lake, kind of real beautiful area. But if you went north, like we were going more towards a small town called Eureka. Mm-hmm. So we would go up from Whitefish and we would drive up and we would go on these beautiful hikes where you could catch these waterfalls. Well, anyway, there was this one spot. Now, I didn't see this myself. I'm just going off of the testimony from my friend.
Your
but
friend.
He's not a... I don't think he would be blowing any smoke on this. I think he saw what he saw.
Okay.
But anyway, so he took me on the hike that he went on when he saw this.
Yeah.
And so I got to go there, and he said, yeah. So what it is you pull over on the side of the road. There's not really a lot of space for a lot of cars, right? So it's just like you're going to get one car. So one car is going to be able to pull over, and then you get to go on your hike. So anyway, so when you pull over, you go over the rail, and then there's your trail. Mm-hmm. And so there's like this little valley or whatever, little crevice or whatever, and on the other side is the BNSF railroad.
Yeah.
There's the railroad track across the other side. Well, he said when he went, he was hiking, and instead of a train coming, it was a convoy of black Hummers. Like just all black Hummers. They were driving on the train tracks, and there was this tunnel that they went through, and he says, yep, they all just went into the tunnel. We all hid because we didn't want any of them to see us, because they felt like it was like something crazy, like something government, whatever. And this would have taken place around 2006, around there. And but yeah, that so it kind of.
So okay,
Montana's kind of a weird state. Quiet.
So check this is crazy. You bring this up, dude. I swear we're on a good one today.
Yeah.
So the guy that man, I need to get his name. So we'll have to pull his name here in a little bit. So they always say that FBI is always at the scene, but they don't say anything regarding the fact that this has happened multiple times when they see or hear of missing cases in the national forests, that they claim they know what's going on, but they never shared this information with the park rangers. Even park rangers act so suspicious when he was trying to get a bunch of like the list of missing people. they don't want to share that information, but they always say that his
The
thing,
FBI doesn't want to share?
yeah, no, the FBI doesn't want to even say anything about it. They just want to collect all that data, and they just do whatever it is that they want with it. But they keep it so secretive. But he has a suspicion that they know what's going on and what's happening to these people out there. So that Hummer, that's the first thing that came to mind, because it's like and that's one thing he said, that he has a list of the common things that happen, the same thing with all these other cases that he's looked into. The FBI is always involved. They always show up. They always ask questions. They always want to take, like, kind of, get as much information from, like, the park rangers or the local sheriffs, and they don't want to share anything that they know from what they've, did their own research and all that. They don't want to share that information.
Wow.
So they know what's going on. So that fits so perfectly with what you said with that, because, like, what if they've already done extensive research on their end, and that makes sense. They're that for those fleet of Hummers, what if they've already know they're going in there doing their own thing, and they're really keeping tabs on that. I think just whatever happens with all these other cases.
Yeah, man.
And also the last one I want to talk to you about is this one, man. So this is a hunter that went out with a couple of his buddies. He went hunting. He was an older gentleman. He was up there in age. He was 70 years old, but he was still pretty spry. Like, he was pretty. He was a pretty good hunter. He knew what to do when he's out there in the forest. He knew all the boundaries and rules and everything. Just a straight dude. So he goes out there. He's hunting, whatever, right? But he's with his buddies. There's like 5 of them total. So they each kind of go in a row of the different, like, areas where they're going to go hunting. So one of them's here, the other one's right here, and then so on and so forth. So it's 5 of them. So they each kind of go in. They have walkie-talkies too, right? They have walkie-talkies and everything. They're calling each other out and saying, okay, we're going to wrap around and we're going to meet kind of like in the middle. So once they were going to meet each other in the middle, the last gentleman, the guy that goes missing, I'll have to pull it up, his story up right here if I can find it. They're trying to meet in the middle, and they're trying to call his name. He's not responding and anything, so they go kind of to where he was at. He just disappears out of nowhere. They don't find a trace of him. They don't even find a candy wrapper, nothing. And they're looking at it. They're looking for him probably till, like, almost, like, I think it was like towards midnight. And then they do, like, an extensive just search and rescue the next following day. Till this day, they don't know what happened. They don't know what caused them to go missing.
There's no trace,
no evidence, no trace, nothing. And also what they did on this one, when they brought more people to go look, and this is one of the cases where the FBI showed up and tried to see what was going on. They didn't want to share any information or nothing, but they left, like, strings, like long white strings to indicate the areas that they searched. So he's like, one of the guys was saying, or one of his sons was saying that if you were to look that day, how many, like, white strings we were looking, that to indicate where we looked, it was the whole forest. You could tell that we just did a search everywhere. Wow. And we have yet to find him or hear anything of him.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
It's not funny. I'm just laughing at how our government hides so much from us, like, so much.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, when we finally do get answers, because eventually we're going to get answers, it's going to look, dude, that our government could be toppled if the people finally get answers and it's not looking good. It's them doing experiments on us or doing whatever.
Yeah.
And we find out it's them behind all this stuff.
Oh, brother, I think that's what it would take to start a revolution. At that point, people are going missing. This gentleman right here, Thomas Masick. So, let's see. Let's pull up his story real quick. Yeah, this is an interesting one to go into. Let's see. Okay, on November 15, 2015, 82-year-old Tom Masick, along with one of his sons and 5 other men, walked into the woods near the Brant Lake region of the Adirondack. I don't even know.
Yeah, whatever they're called. A bunch of mountains in New York.
There we go. The plan was the group to hunt for a few hours and then leave. Tom's role was to serve as one of the watchers, while the other hunters drove the deer towards his location. The woods were said to be eerily quiet that day, aside from the strange sound. And that's one thing, too. One of the guys said he heard, like, this strange sound that to him was so unfamiliar. And that's one thing that stood out that day, that he heard, like, this large sound, but it was completely opposite from what they were. He's like, it was just a weird sound that he's never heard, and it just kind of stood in the back of his mind. Like, I don't know, until this day,
That's wild.
I don't know what that is. So check this out. So the woods were said to be eerily quiet that day, aside from a strange sound that one of the men would report hearing shortly before they discovered that Tom was missing. Neither the 82-year-old nor his hunting rifle and walkie-talkie were ever found, despite extensive search efforts. Additionally, he had never answered his radio or used it to call for help that afternoon. The FBI became involved early in the investigation, leading some to wonder if Tom's disappearance was the result of something other than the tragic accident or a medical emergency in the wilderness, but evidence to support any theory remained elusive.
You know, I was up in the mountains here. What's our mountain area called? Mount Baker Wilderness. So I was trying to find kind of where we had went up. I had went up with Hector.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to go in that area just to kind of, see some things, right?
Yeah.
Well, I get up there and there's a missing poster.
Oh, really?
Of an older man.
Okay.
And I took a picture. I actually remember I took a picture because I'm like, man, who goes missing in the woods? Look just like that guy.
Yeah.
But I just thought, man, but that could have been, anything else. I mean, you didn't hear much of that story, but then you hear stories like this. So then it's like, okay, well, wait, maybe I need to go back to my picture, look at that name, and see if there's been any follow-ups on that story and, whatever. But I mean, he went up there alone. That's the thing. He went up there alone. Yeah. He didn't have anybody with him. And when you're up in age, I mean, anything can happen. You could fall into that river and you're gone forever. Yeah. So that's kind of what I chalked it up to, is just, old guy probably just fell.
Something, but the fact that they never found like his body or nothing like that. Or for that one, right? Talking about, right?
I'm talking about the one up there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a huge search over several weeks involving more than 300 professionals and volunteers on some days, assisted by dogs. Oh, here's another kicker. So a lot of the times when they bring dogs, like bloodhounds, what they call them, bloodhounds, right? Yeah. They always act very weird sometimes, and they always kind of circle around their trainer or the owner that that brings them to the site. They always act weird, and they always just lay in front of their feet. Like there's times where they just act very weird.
Like they're not comfortable.
Like they're not comfortable, and sometimes they say they never experienced that before.
Dude, and dogs are a good one.
They're a good one. And they say they just either they lose track. They get to a point where they're sniffing and they just lose track and they just sit and.
Wow.
So that's another thing.
Dude.
So assisted by dogs and divers and several helicopters found no clues, including no sign of his rifle or walkie-talkie. More than 4 square miles were searched, and with a large area being searched by air with the aid of a helicopter from the State Police Aviation Unit. So yeah, man, there was a large search for it. Canine units, police officers, helicopters or anything. And this is kind of the area where they were at. All that, dude. Yeah. And till this day, man, they just don't know what happened to poor guy, man. And they'll never know. I mean, the family probably just want closure on what happened. But dude, abduction. Beverly said he'd been in the woods since he was a boy, and if he got lost, he would have cut a piece of his jacket and tied it to a tree and done the other things he learned. His wife said her greatest fear was that he was a victim of foul play. The only thing I can think of is that maybe somehow someone came by in the quad, heard him, and got scared and drove him out of there. I keep praying they'll find him so we have some closure. I keep praying that I didn't tell him I loved him and the last day I saw him alive. So they think maybe somebody had honestly probably killed him, but they would have heard that. If they were that close, they would have heard a quad or something coming down, right?
Yeah, you would think.
You would think, right? So, yeah, man, no clues. Yeah, since 2019, so he was part of the
missing. And with that big of a search and the FBI involved, they would have looked at cell phone records. So if somebody hit him with a quad, they would have tracked him by their phone. Yeah, there's all kinds of things.
So here's the part. This is kind of like a little. How would you say a little? Caption of kind of like they were talking about that weird noise, right? Yeah. So the guy says, I heard a strange noise in the woods. I don't know what it was. Just a different noise from what I usually hear, And the guy's like what? It'd be hard to explain but it was just different. Something different that I never heard before in the woods. I just can't say what it was, How long duration was it? Was it 2 or 3 seconds? No, it's just whatever it is, How far was it? I'd say it was probably 150 yards, something like that. Was it toward Tom or away from Tom? This was upwards the hill, on top of the hill. Yeah. Did you tell the cops this? Yeah, I told them, but they just passed it off, So that's the weird noise they were talking about. That's the only thing that really stood out that day, that they just heard that loud. They just can't describe it. And a little bit after that, Tom went missing.
It just makes me want to dig more into that kind of stuff, because there are so many questions out there. And clearly, I mean, it could be something where it could be an accident, could have been anything. Yeah. But with the amount, I mean, we've talked about this on the pod before, but they have those maps, those stats of how many people go missing in the forest, in the national parks. And they think that there's some underground railroad or underground tunnels that connect all of them. Yeah. They talk about the natural caverns that we have, that everything is connected. So there's just somehow some underground tunnels that connect all the way from Washington to New York, Texas, all that. And they use the national parks as like their hunting ground.
Dude, I mean, at this point, it almost makes you wonder too, man. I mean, I'm sure, of course, going hiking and all that, it's a cool thing to do, if you're an outdoors person that likes to go out there and kind of just get away from the city and all that, enjoy Mother Nature. Yeah. But it always makes you wonder, man. I mean, you're out there, like, especially if you go by yourself, you're out there, it's just you alone in whatever there is in the forest and all that. Yeah. And it's kind of, you need to be prepared for whatever comes your way,
Yeah. I only went hiking alone a handful of times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, when I lived in Montana, I went hiking a lot, and it was a lot more than just a handful, because I would keep track. I had a little trail app, and I loved it because I could it was kind of like this little mission, like, I want to go on this, but I never had any type of fear. Like, I understood that if there were animals out on the trail, that they were more afraid of me than I was of them. I always had a firearm with me. Yeah. So, I mean, I just didn't ever feel afraid of anything. My worst fear being out there was not Sam Squanch or UAPs or the government or anything. Mine was, dude, if I fall and I injure myself and I'm stuck, say a tree falls or whatever, and I'm stuck, like, dude, you're going to die out in the woods. Yeah. And that's the main thing. And so you're always, how do I mitigate that? So those are always the thoughts that go through your head when you're hiking. Yeah. But I mean, that's, and so when I first started hearing of all these cases, I said, I just feel like it's the government trying to scare us. See, for me, everything is the government. The government is my boogeyman. But, I said, man, it feels like the government is trying to scare us out of the woods. They don't want us in the woods. And so they're like, but these people really do go missing. And that's the thing. And it's all, a lot of them are just out there in the woods doing that. But, hiking is fun. I haven't been able to go in a few years, as you can see. It's funny because nobody in my family really likes to hike.
Really? They're not outdoors people? Like
they're just, they're just kind of like, video games and stuff.
The more modern stuff, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so we'll end it off with this one. I know we kind of got lost in the sauce in regards to this stuff, but of course, we want to tie this in with the possibilities, right? Like the stuff that I think hits both nails on the head when it comes to just the stuff that we've talked about. UAPs and abductions, possibility. Sasquatch, Bigfoot, possibility. I mean, because there's a lot of indications where they just hear a bunch of weird things. But check this one out. This is where it gets, if you think those couple stories I've told you were crazy, this one's even a little bit, I'm gonna kick it up a notch. The mystery death of Mary Jane Barker, 1957. So this was a while ago, right? Mm-hmm. The story: 4-year-old Mary Jane Barker vanished along with her friend's puppy in Belmar, New Jersey. A massive search was launched, and the house of a neighbor, which was under construction, was searched multiple times by dozens of volunteers. 5 days later, the owner of the unfinished home opened a small, deep bedroom closet and found Mary Jane and the puppy inside. Tragically, she had passed away from starvation and exposure. The 411 connection. The case baffles people because rescuers and construction workers had been inside the exact room multiple times over those 5 days, but reported hearing absolutely nothing from the girl and the dog.
My goodness.
But think about that, right? she was in that. They found her in that closet, and the story was that the people that were looking to buy the home, it was a mother and her daughter. The little girl just opened the closet door, and the dog just shot out, sprung out, and they had found the little girl deceased there, right? Man. But the crazy thing is, there was people in that house, and they never heard anything that whole time they were there. So what could happen? Starvation and
sleeping. Was she maybe sleeping?
They don't know. Man. But the thing is that they didn't hear anything. The dog too. You would think the dog would make noise, right?
Yes.
That's the thing, right? That's a clear indicator. You know if a dog's going to be in a what
like
a lot of factors. Yeah, help. Yep. I'm here, scratching the door, making noise, barking.
Yes.
And for 5 days, you're telling me that dog's not going to make any noise, being hungry, thirsty, and all that.
Dang. That's dude. There's a lot. That's insane. There's so many questions there.
So yeah, and until this day, they don't know what happened. They don't know what happened. It's just an unsolved. How did that come about? The mom even said that she was in the back. Like, your mom was kind of like already aware that she was back here playing and all that, and then she just goes missing out of nowhere. And it wasn't a pretty, like, it was a pretty outskirt type area. It said like the neighbors were kind of maybe like almost a mile away or whatever. So there wasn't really any other like neighbors around or whatever. So it was like they were pretty out there and on the outskirts. Man. But yeah, this one was the one too that kind of like, what?
Yeah, what is happening?
What is happening, man? Well, we will never know.
Yeah,
we will never know. So, poor little girl, man, and dog, I guess, seemed to be alive. But yeah, that's the one where too. It also kind of made me scratch my head. I'm like, they really have no result of what could have happened with a lot of these cases too. And also the other thing too that they say that is pretty unusual is that a lot of the times they find them close to a creek or close to water without their shoes, and a lot of the times too they never report the conditions of their feet, because there's been other stories that they've heard that some of these children go missing, but they find them in weird locations to where they got to cross a river, and they find them like miles away from where they were last seen.
Yeah,
but they never give they never give like a clear, how do you say, result of how their foot condition was, and they never reveal that.
Okay, that's wild. I know there's I was about to go somewhere with that and I forgot. But
yeah, sorry, I had to throw that one at you.
Yeah, no, and that's a good one though, because it reminded me of some other stories. There's a good one. I don't have time now.
Okay, we'll save it for the next one.
There's a good story, because I love to say, okay, this is there's so many weird things that happen in America.
Yeah.
But dude, there's also some pretty wild stories that happen outside of America that I've heard, and I'd love to share. Okay. I just don't have the time today.
We'll save it. We'll save it for this one. And I think we reached our time limit today, brother, right? Okay, we reached our time limit. We definitely wanted to come together and bring you another awesome episode, but on this one, we're going to sign out. And also stay tuned for more future side quest episodes from yours truly, just bringing up random topics. Yeah, you name it. The randomness will continue. And just more content overall for you lovely folks. But remember, around you folks, definitely tap in, subscribe to our YouTube page. We just crossed 300 subs, so milestone
that
for
is
sure.
Freaking awesome.
So definitely thank you for all those that took the time out of your day to like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube page, and also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and yeah, all that jazz. And we're on all major streaming platforms for the audio. You'll hear our full episodes on there as well. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. All major streaming platforms, like I said. But we're going to sign out. Take care. We'll catch you next one. We love you. Till then, peace.